Today on Backyard Battles, we're going to start diving into my G.I. Joe collection. Now that's a big task to just try and take on the whole thing, so what I've decided to do is just break it down section by section, sort of covering by themes. And as you can see from this small squad here, we're focusing on the jungle or light infantry types. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first series. Here you can see a large squad of Lieutenant Falcon, one of my favorite figures when I was a kid. Being a kid of the 80s, the war that we all knew was Vietnam, and a lot of that inspiration went into G.I. Joe. I loved the camo patterns in the figure that stood out for either the blank olive drab ones or some of the more garish colors like Sci-Fi or Lifeline. So Lieutenant Falcon holds a special place in my heart.
Captain, I don't know how I feel about this.
Just trust me, there's a surefire way to get this ambush to work.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of messed up.
All you want us to do is just stand over here. That's it?
I'm not really a huge customizer. I don't have the time and patience for painting or learning that skill. So basically what we did in the past and still do to this day is a lot of kit bashing. You can see the multitude of heads that I put on this very versatile body. Whenever we're playing with soldiers, I like to have that sense of uniformity without just having a blanket clone army. So swapping out the heads is a really easy way to achieve that. You get some individuals, but you get uniforms that match and show that they're either the same unit or the same function. And here he is, Lieutenant Falcon, with his Special Forces green beret. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. He doesn't have the slacker or kind of cocky face that you would see in the movie, right? This one kind of looks a little more, I don't know, actually he looks stoned, to be honest. But he's got his original shotgun, backpack, and knife. I just lost the antenna setting up for this shot. In a purest sense, I keep my favorite G.I. Joe figures away from the Kitbash or the armies, and I always have one that's got the original gear, and I try and find the best figure I have, and those ones go into a G.I. Joe carrying case, so I at least have that version despite all the other Kitbashing I'm doing. Before we start looking at the squad, I just want to point out I did do a quick spray on some classic G.I. Joe weapons and Marauder ink weapons with just some flat olive drab green. I didn't like the black plastic shine the weapons had for these guys, so I wanted something that would help with the suspension of disbelief that these guys are actually made to be walking around the jungle. And just a little easy hit like that really helped out. First up in the squad is the machine gun team. I've got a gung-ho on top of Falcon's body with the Marauder 240 Bravo. Again, just using that quick olive drab spray paint. And I've got this guy. Don't worry about that little guy. He came from some sort of Spy Troops line, the O-Ring series that came before the 25th. And he's popped on to the Falcon body. In fact, he's literally just popped on there. I can just whoop right off and boot back in. And yes, the skin tone doesn't really match. But from where I'm playing, I don't really see it. It doesn't really bother me too much. And their backpacks are also just that quick olive spray drab in the back. Here they are again with the gunner on full get some mode. I know it's a little ridiculous that the assistant gunner is handing him a belt of ammo. Everything's mostly drum fed, but hey, you know, maybe that drum cracked open, or maybe that's how desperate they are as they're pulling out full belts of ammo. I don't know. Visually, it looks really cool. And the idea for buying all these Falcons wasn't to have an army of Falcons or a squad even of Falcons. It's to have enough of that same type of uniform blending in with other jungle types that you could see a pattern. You could see the fact that, yeah, these guys all fit together. This makes sense. Even though there's some break in uniformity, like Tunnel right there is just going with the shirt sleeves. Maybe he took his blouse off, and then the guy in the background there, maybe he has a specialty function, but that they could all mesh and blend in together. And that's really what we're trying to achieve, is that these are soldiers that belong together.
Delta 1, this is Sixpence. We've been waiting at ORP for an hour. Where's our link up? Oh, I'm right here, guys. I'm right here. I'm right here. What? Sneak peek? Are you serious? What are you even wearing? Oh, guys, you need me on the team. I'm a recon specialist.
Recon? We don't need recon. Where's your weapon?
Oh, I couldn't carry my weapon. My hands were too full carrying my gigantic periscope.
What?
I use it for sneaking and peeking. But it was so large it got caught up in the vines and I had to leave it.
Your one gimmick can be replaced by a pair of binoculars.
I don't need a piece of equipment to do my job. I've been trained by G.I. Joe. Watch, I can sneak and peek.
Holy crap! Sneak peek. Quick, get on the radio. We had a call for a medevac.
No. Here I've got Night Force Outback. I almost say survival every time. Law, and then Captain Gridiron. Say what you will about that goofy figure, maybe modeled after a football player, but his mug is really good. You know, G.I. Joe had a lot of hard time developing original sculpts without slapping a mustache and a beard on there because the tooling wasn't that great, but his came out really well, and I really like that blocky figure face he's got. For this squad, the Jungle Mashers, this Outback is their anti-tank guy, and he's carrying an AT-4 that comes from BBI in 21st Century. That toy line, when it came out, was phenomenal with details. The figures were very stiff and had the fake swivel arm joints instead of these normal pivot joints, but the detailing on the weapons were great. You can see they put a lot, even the stenciling details in there, if I can get the camera to focus on. There it is. You can see the detailing, that the actual little stenciled instructions on this is how you fire an AT-4. Really awesome weapons and gear to strip down and give to your G.I. Joes. And because you're not always fighting tanks and you need your guy to pick up the rifle and go pew pew pew, where's he put that anti-tank weapon when he's not using it? Well, the secret sauce is these little black elastic hair ties. They're really cheap. You can get like 100 in a pack. And when you're not right up on the toy, they don't really jump out that much. They kind of just look like some sort of harness to strap. These do degrade over time. There's been several times I picked a figure out of an old bin and this rubber has just absolutely dried up and it just peels away. I've never had one stick to any figures or toys before, so no promises. We use some of the clear rubber bands too, the same type that you would see that hold your figures into the packaging. They sell those as hair bands as well. Those tend to yellow and those ones do get really sticky, so I don't recommend those. But yeah, I love using these to just strap extra gear onto the figures. And with the BBI in 21st Century, I'm going to use that interchangeably because those two waves or those two toy lines came out and they're just a blur to me. We would strip the packs and pouches off their figures, throw them into like vehicles to be vehicle drivers, and then glue these onto our figures. So I know that's a World War II ammo pouch system, but it still adds a little bit of individuality to this figure, kind of like he's wearing its shooter's preference. And the final figures from our Lieutenant Falcon line, you've got Salvo on the left. The two in the middle, it's Hawk and I'm pretty sure like their Lifeline. They came in those 2-packs from Toys R Us that squeezed out right after G.I. Joe had that hiatus. And on the right there, you've got a comic book version of Snake Eyes with this very heavily shadowed. That's actually painted shadowing underneath there to keep that mystery. It looked right out of the comic books. And it's got great details with the photo of his sister actually still being in his band there too. I didn't love the rest of the body. It was too bright green, but works great here. You can see all three of their helmets came from BBI or 21st Century, and there are World War II versions. It still looks cool. They have camo on there. There's captain bars. I like to be able to have that. Like, I'm the officer. I'm the company commander. Even though it's really outdated, especially if you're playing in some sort of modern context. Just imagination. Here's a sneak peek of some of the figures you'll see at the... No, not you. Get out of the way. Oh. Here's a sneak peek of some figures you'll see in part 2 of diving into my G.I. Joe collection, the Jungle Squads. Yeah, sure, you could click that video to see more guys in camo, or you could leave a comment below, and then we could see more guys like me, like your buddy Sneak Peek. Huh? Huh? Nobody loves me.